It is a period of Star Wars mania, as new movies, comic books, novels, and TV shows populate the system. Fueled by their love and passion for the galaxy far, far away, two exceptional geeks tap into hundreds of holocrons in order to bring you the knowledge and insight of all things Star Wars. Come and join them as they go inside the Force.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Force. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode 36. I'm David Cottingham, here with Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody.
Hope everyone is enjoying their Thanksgiving week.
Yes.
This is the last week of episode 4 month, where we are highlighting and profiling characters, places, people from episode 4, A New Hope. And we are finishing the month out with probably one of the biggest contraptions ever created.
Yeah.
And that is the Death Star. And this is the episode 4 Death Star, which is very different from
Death Star 1.
Death Star 1, which is very different from Death Star 2. And if you didn't know, there were actually a third.
That was a prototype.
Yep. So, but we're not going to get into those because that's not episode 4. So we're going to get right in to the Death Star of episode 4. No nicknames or anything for these things. This is actually just the Death Star. So, as you know from the movies, they are moon-sized Imperial battle stations, basically, that actually need to orbit a planet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically a moon. And here's the thing: is that the original one, the Death Star 1 that you see being built at the end of being built at the end of episode 3, actually, is 160 kilometers in diameter. So if you were going to walk through it straight, 160 kilometers was roughly. Now we're in America here, so we go by miles. So I think you figured out it'd roughly be about 100 miles.
Yeah,
right.
About 100.
So if anybody listening living in Lexington, it's roughly here to Cincinnati is the diameter of this thing, which is pretty huge. Basically, so if you drove a car 70 miles an hour, it'd take you about an hour and a little over an hour to get to the other side of the Death Star. Now, if you want to understand the massiveness of Death Star 2, that was actually 900 kilometers in diameter. So almost 9 times.
Yeah.
Not quite. Yeah.
Almost 560 miles.
Yes.
The length of Kentucky, just more than that, basically.
Wow. So a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So this one though was a lot smaller, 160 kilometers in diameter, and it is, I think, often brought up with Star Wars fans that, especially after seeing episode 3, it's like when you watch episode 3, there's Emperor Palpatine now and Vader standing there, and you see a young Tarkin kind of walk away, and you can clearly see a frame of the Death Star. Mm-hmm. So, did it take 19 years for them to build the Death Star?
Yeah, I think it did, actually. Pretty much 20 years.
It did. And I was kind of getting at because it was such a complicated thing, obviously, a complicated and massive space station. But then it comes kind of into question, I guess. Okay, so the second Death Star is 5-6 times bigger, and it only took them 3 years?
Yeah,
3 or 4 years,
almost
complete. Yeah, it wasn't quite completed. They probably still had.
It's the majority of it,
but they did have probably 2/3 of it done.
It's operational.
Yes, they got the laser working.
Yeah, first thing, get the laser working now.
Yeah, and that's a big thing we'll talk about too, is a super laser. But the thing had the completed Death Star. First Death Star had about 15,000 lasers, ion turbo blasters, heavy turbo blasters, 768 tractor beam emplacements. But as you know from Episode 4, the shields couldn't stop any fighters from getting close.
Yeah.
So, which, as they say in the movie, they figured they weren't any threats anyway.
Yeah.
So they didn't really care. They can just shoot them down. Until Luke Skywalker showed up. So anyway, splitting basically at the center of this thing, of the Death Star was called a hypermatter reactor. So this not only fueled basically the entire Death Star, but it also provided the energy for the super laser that destroys the planets, actually. And then you have, when you split this thing into two hemispheres, basically cutting it in half, you've got 24 zones, and you have 12 per hemisphere. And each zone was controlled by a bridge. Now, Star Wars does a good job of kind of explaining a bridge being basically the command center, like the bridge on a Star Destroyer. Mm-hmm. And so these bridges have these sectors have bridges that are controlled by certain leaders on the Death Star, and they're also split into sectors. So each sector denotes a function, and they split them up into these sectors: general, command sector, military, security, service, and technical sectors. So each of these hemispheres have those sectors into these zones here, controlled by certain bridges, so that there's just not, Tarkin technically was in charge of the entire thing, but he had separate generals or whatever they were called controlling, parts of the Death Star. And I thought it was really neat that, when they were building this thing, it wasn't just, them standing, when you see Emperor and Vader, it wasn't them just standing there watching them being built right there.
Yeah.
They actually, they actually contracted some of the building, the parts of this thing to prisoners on different planets. And they didn't even know what they were building. Mm-hmm. So there were inmates, part of their job as an inmate, were building sections of this Death Star so that's how they kind of got everything. And then also one of the reasons why, when I was mentioning about the time length, it wasn't always a secret. Mm-hmm. That people found out, rebels found out about this, so there were actually a lot of sabotage going on.
Yeah.
They had to fight off the rebellion and other people that thought this was a bad idea. So it delayed a lot of the. Of course, there's probably labor strikes going on.
There's a lot of bad things happening.
Yeah,
a lot of deaths.
A lot of stuff. But I thought it was just very interesting and actually pretty hilarious. I thought. But once you get into the levels of this thing, because you think obviously it's a battle station, and the parts that you see in the movies and stuff, it's very militarized,
Right.
But actually, it's funny because it actually has certain amenities to it, like parks, like shopping centers, like recreation areas, taverns, such as a very important one, the Hard Heart Cantina.
Yeah.
So what's the Hard Heart Cantina?
It is, I guess, the most popular cantina on the Death Star. I don't know how many there were, but
there's apparently a lot of taverns.
Yeah, and there's an interesting history because I thought, well, there was a cantina, and it was ran by this person named Mima Ruthless, who's a Twi'lek, or Twi'lek, however you people say it. And I thought, this chick is running this cantina, and she was an innocent woman on the Death Star who died when it blew up, and Luke basically murdered this person. But so I looked more into it, and Mima, the owner of Hard Heart Cantina, she has a history as well. She actually owned a cantina on Coruscant called the Soft Heart that mysteriously got caught up in flames or whatever. So she was contracted to own the cantina on the Death Star, and so she's like, yeah, of course, because you get paid a lot of money and get a lot of benefits, I guess, living and working on the Death Star. Then she come to realize how evil the Empire really was. So she and her, her employees managed to escape the Death Star, And it's interesting, like right before it blew up, because it's interesting. It says that they were pursued or briefly engaged by Darth Vader, because I guess he was mad because the owners of the best cantina in the battle station were leaving, leaving no one to make the drinks or whatever. So he was engaging Mima, and then had to break off to go fight Luke and the rebels who were attacking the Death Star. So I don't know how. I'm assuming that's EU, so because it sounds kind of weird that Vader was going after these guys and suddenly had to break away to go after Luke. But it's interesting to know that there was, there were just regular things going on, and because it's like thinking of any other big, like Google's big headquarters. They have these kind of like restaurants or these kind of places where they need that if they have employees there 24/7 working all the time. But there you go. I mean, it can't hit a shopping malls, had all that stuff.
I know. The reason why I brought it up so funny is because of Detours.
Yes, absolutely.
Star Wars Detours being that comedic Star Wars animated series that we were gonna get. I'm pretty positive we're never gonna see it. Maybe years after.
A couple years, 2-3 years
after Episode 7 comes. I don't know, but we're definitely not seeing it before any movies come out.
Yeah,
because it kind of puts people that don't know Star Wars at all. I mean, it would. I think it would shed a different light on it in a sense, give them kind of a different mindset. So that's what they're trying to avoid. And on that show, basically the centerpiece of that show was the Death Star. How they're trying to keep it a secret by saying that it's a shopping mall.
Yeah. Like these big caution tapes around
yes.
it.
And come check out the shopping mall coming soon, and they'd have tours there. I mean, it's just, it was a hilarious concept. Yeah. But back to the real thing here. Yeah. So a couple things else about the Death Star, mainly was how it traveled, because obviously this thing had to be a mobile thing if it was going to be a threat to the galaxy. So how it traveled was by using linked banks of 123 hyperdrive field generators.
Wow.
123. And they were all tied into a single navigational matrix. By doing that, the Death Star can travel across the galaxy at superluminal velocity. So that's ludicrous speed.
Yeah, ludicrous. Yeah,
that's basically what it is. Ludicrous speed. So basically, for all you space geeks out there, the incredible energy that this thing created, combined with the great mass of it, gave the Death Star magnetic and artificial gravitational fields, which basically allowed it to orbit bodies many times greater in size.
I would think it would have its own gravity.
It does.
Things would get pulled to it.
Yeah, I would think so too. If something small, obviously,
small,
asteroids or comets or something like that. Absolutely.
Maybe. That's crazy.
And then, of course, the other main aspect of it was the super laser that we talked about with the hypermatter reactor that fueled it, that basically it drew its power from. So basically, if you remember the movies, it created basically 8 separate beams that actually converged onto one single beam, and that's what caused increased the intensity of the blast, and then it was able to destroy planets. Now, once fully
charged,
blasted, used.
Once
at full charge, once used at full charge, it actually could not be used until it was recharged after about 24 standard hours.
Yeah.
So basically a day. So fire the thing, go to bed for a while, and then you can fire it again. But as you see from the second Death Star, and the first one was capable of doing these too, you can actually scale back the charge, destroy capital ships like it did. But so that's why it was able to keep firing. But and if you recall also, they could never just fire and fire and fire. I mean, it did have to still charge. It just wasn't as long of a charge. So if they destroyed a planet, then you have to wait a little while to destroy the next one. But So that technically, that is really the main technical aspects of the Death Star. It does mention how there was basically two gravity orientations on the Death Star. Like if you were in the outer part of the Death Star, basically the outermost shell of the Death Star, the gravity basically pulled you. You were always towards the center, the core.
Yeah.
But if you were closer, you were always your gravity was kind of towards the southern pole. Mm-hmm. So there were kind of two gravity fields, almost in a sense, sounds like in a sense. Now the history of it, as far as how this thing got made and the idea and all that stuff, we kind of hit on it a little bit during the Tarkin.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap there.
Yeah, a lot when we researched, because I remember reading this and thinking, yeah, this seems familiar. Because we read a lot of it, because Tarkin had obviously a big hand in not just the design, but basically the facilitating of the construction. But it actually was born out of the mind of Wraith Sinar, who is also a human, very good friend of Tarkin's. His homeworld was actually Coruscant. So he actually conceived the idea of this, what he called
expeditionary.
Thank you.
Battle
planetoid, which will probably be the name of this episode, actually. But anyway, he conceived the idea, but actually believed that to be impractical, impossible to do.
Why would you think of it then?
Yeah, what?
I'm going to
build a planet-sized battle station.
That'll never happen. It was useless.
I just need to get a loan from the bank.
Yeah. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, not going to happen. But anyway, he actually shared the idea with Tarkin, and they both actually took it to Palpatine, who was actually the Chancellor at the time. So this is prior to Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And obviously, Palpatine being the Dark Lord of the Sith he is, he actually wanted to figure out if it was actually practical. Mm. So he gave it to an engineer named Bevel Lemelisk and ordered him to actually discover and advance this the need for this hypermatter science, which obviously is what is the core made out of, and also to confer with which is kind of weird, the Geonosians.
Yeah.
Which we know from episode 2, where the droid factory is basically Obi-Wan finds. So with the Geonosians and with another scientist, this Twi'lek scientist called Toll, they basically modified and improved and figured out basically how to design this Death Star.
Yeah.
So then ultimately, though, Bevel and I guess even Wraith and these guys all felt like it was the plans were lost because the plans were on Geonosis when the battle broke, basically when the Clone Wars came out.
Yeah.
So, Paul Gilesser said, "Yeah, we can't let this fall into the hands of the Jedi." Count Dooku's like, "I'll take it," and bam, back into now. So they thought the plans were gone in the wrong hands, but actually they went back to the hands that they started with. So they end up going back to Palpatine, and they have the plans now and awaiting to take over the galaxy and then build this thing. So that's actually how that whole thing were, because I remember watching episode 2 and thinking that was a little bit of a shock.
Seeing the Death Star like that early?
Yes. Yeah. Well, not just that, but from them.
Yeah.
Like those, why would the Geonosians, I mean, I know they got a droid factory there, I guess, but I would never think that they were because at first you're like, wait a minute, these guys came up with the Death Star?
Yeah.
So you don't know the history of Tarkin or anything like that unless you read up on it, but so the Geonosians didn't create the Death Star, it came from Tarkin. Tarkin and Wraith Sinar. But that's really the Death Star. Obviously they had both the first one and the second one had design flaws. They had trenches that were built. Now there was reasons for the trenches. The trenches actually were places where ships came into dock, and and whatnot. So they never, when like a ship got in a tractor beam, that's where all the tractor beams kind of set inside the trench. So yeah, it just, it sounds like the design flaw on the first one was very minimal compared to the second one. I always kind of question, like, wait a minute, why are you building these? Unless it wasn't completed, since it wasn't completed, maybe they.
Yeah.
But the designs they were looking at in Return of the Jedi clearly showed like 3 tunnels.
Yeah.
Going to the core, and it's like, wait a minute. But they also had that shield generator, which no ships can get in. So maybe they figured there's no reason. I don't know.
Stupid.
Yeah, but you would think, just in case, we should not have tunnels that go to the center of this thing.
Straight in the center.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And I read like how they fixed the first problem with the 2-meter vent.
Yes, the
they made millions of tiny vents.
Oh,
so
really?
Instead of one big 2-meter vent, whatever.
So so the missile can go through there.
Yeah, so like they had like millions of like these tiny vents that are the size of millimeters.
And didn't they do bends in them too? So they couldn't
something, or like they had.
It wasn't like a straight shot.
And they had like if any energy were to pass through, it would close off immediately or something like that. So it's like I'm glad we spent the money.
The third one would have been.
Yeah,
the third one would have been it.
If we made a third one, you guys would have been smoked. If we made a third one,
we wouldn't have episode 7. Okay. So anyway, that's the Death Star, and that's going to close out our profiling of episodes 4.
Yeah, it's not much there. Death Star's just kind of sitting there.
Yes, it is.
I mean,
but it was seeing that in that movie. I'm sure in '77 it was a pretty cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I wasn't. I wasn't even born when this movie came out. I was born that year, but yeah, honestly, that's. I know, I don't know for sure, but I think it's always been in the draft. Is it in the Star Wars, the Death Star? Maybe it wasn't.
The Star Wars? I don't think so.
But it's a pretty brilliant idea to build, have a planet-sized
calling it
Star.
The Death Star.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what is it? It's the Death Star. It kills stars.
It does.
It kills planets.
It does. So, of course, as episode 4 illustrates, Tarkin was put in charge of it until his death, when it blew up.
You can if you want to play Force Unleashed, it's in that a lot too.
It is.
You can actually go inside of it and see.
It's pretty awesome
how it works in there.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I never thought, as I was researching, that much of the Death Star is comprised. One reason why it kind of has to be so big is so it can take care of itself. Like you need the space to basically maintain the laser and maintain everything. That's why true. Because I just would think of the Death Star like it's full of like millions of, it has so much space in there. It's got to be full of ships. It's got to be full of, all this stuff. But really, it's just full of the workings to maintain. It's like the Titanic. All the bottom of the Titanic is, full of the stuff to maintain the Titanic.
That's right. And it mentions in here too about the crew. Like, these guys, it's not like they're there and they go home to work and then come back. I mean, these guys live there. Yeah. I mean, it's like a long-term deal. It's fun. It's funny because like Robot Chicken, stuff like that. Whenever it's funny when like Palpatine's falling, you can see the different levels of all the people living there and all that stuff. That's kind of what I imagined, but there's a lot, and that's the thing too, is since they're living there, that's why they have these recreation places, these taverns, these parks, shopping areas. I mean, it's basically it's basically not just a battle station, it's a space station. It's a living area. So lots of. I
wonder if there were any females on the Death Star. There was one chick, Berea, whatever, in the Star Wars comic.
Oh, I'm sure there are tons, yeah. Well, there were probably a lot of females working in the bars and
no girl Star
waitresses. No. Yeah, you don't see too many women on there, but okay. So moving on to whatever news we got this week.
Going on,
yeah,
not much. Actually, the news kind of happened within the past couple of days. The whole Clone Wars Season 6 thing that we've been talking about a lot here. There's a rumor going around. Is this actually a rumor? about the season 6 stuff?
Yeah, it's a rumor. Well, it was reported by some Poland guys.
So
right?
the rumor is, no, I guess it's, just in Poland or whatever, that the season 6 episodes, it's going to be 10 episodes. It's going to be released on Disney XD. It seems like maybe just Poland, which doesn't make sense to me. It's going to be released on that channel as season 6, called The Lost Missions.
Mm-hmm.
Where we will see clips that we've been teased about, like Yoda and Anakin and Plo Koon and finding that lightsaber, and that the clone trooper killing the Jedi, all that kind of stuff. Well, I mean, I can't imagine that Poland just getting this, if this is true. So I hope we get it here in the States or something. Regardless, we're going to get it soon. Probably next spring, we're going to get the whole 10 episode thing of season 6. Which would be awesome. Finally, it's been about by then it'd be 2 years since we got season 5.
Well, season 6 would have started this September.
Yeah.
So it'd be about a year and a half.
Okay.
If that, spring would be almost 2 years. But
yeah,
I think like I said, it was confirmed by Filoni that come first of the year they were going to make an announcement of how we were going to get this. So this announcement is probably going to come like this, but. Personally, I would think they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So I would bet that we might get them as early as February, March, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest,
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Maybe around. I keep thinking next year is Celebration.
No. I think we're definitely gonna get them. Obviously, before Rebels.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's going to be probably September.
Mm-hmm.
So, it could be a summer thing.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yeah. There was a quick little thing about Electronic Arts EA games that they made a 10-year deal with Lucasfilm, or with Disney, I guess, about Star Wars video games. And the big thing about that is that they're not going to make any video games based off the movies. Not much like what they did with the previous movies. They're not going to do any Star Wars Episode 7 video game. They're going to explore new areas untapped by the movies and such, which is cool.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
Then give us 1313 if you're going to say that crap.
Yeah,
Stupid. Anywho, that's all right. More Star Wars. Some big news. I mean, one thing that kind of was released today, because we all know R2-D2 is going to be in Episode 7 now, based off that production still. And so people were asking J.J. Abrams about C-3PO. And it's, okay, C-3PO is going to be in the movie as well, most likely. So
yeah,
J.J. Abrams was kind of just being nice to this one interviewer, saying how, he'll basically be in the movie kind of stuff. And which is nice. He's slowly starting to do more interviews about the movies. Still being very shy about anything regarding any type of story or whatever, which is normal for him.
He's not gonna.
Nothing.
Never.
But there is a rumor that came out this past week about a certain character that might be in Star Wars Episode 7. It doesn't say who the source. I don't think this is. I think Hollywood Reporter originally reported this, but they're saying that there's going to be a character in Episode 7 who's going to be a 40-something military man. Much like, I know this is such a weird connection, much like the Matt Damon character in Elysium is how this is described. Apparently, J.J. Abrams, I guess he liked that character or something. This is like the quote where J.J. Abrams or Lawrence Kasdan literally compared, we're going to have a character like the Matt Damon character in Elysium. Or something like that. Like, this is what they're comparing this character to. So, I haven't seen the movie yet.
Me neither.
But
no.
Based off the trailers, I guess that's a cool thing.
Well, in Elysium, he gets outfitted with this machine, basically hooked into his spine. I think right?
They're talking more about how he is,
like
his personality, like what he does, kind of thing, like how he's a rugged.
Well, get Matt Damon.
Yeah, dang it. But that's really the only biggest kind of things regarding Episode 7. Then the casting call wrapped up this past Sunday in Nashville.
Yes,
and I think this past weekend was also London as well, which was a huge turnout in London.
Oh, really?
Like, it's the biggest one, which was guessed to be the biggest. I think 5,000, maybe 8,000 people showed up. Nashville, which is the one I went to this past Sunday.
Yes.
It didn't seem to be that many because it was so cold. It was only probably a few thousand, 2,000-3,000 people. But yeah, it was cool. Obviously, I didn't get a call back because I'm here. So
Well, you could have been here still.
Yeah, but sadly enough, I didn't get a call back. It was still pretty awesome.
Yeah. So talk about how what happened.
Basically, well, my fiance Sarah came with me, and I told her like you were officially the best thing, but you're double stamped the best thing right now because you came with me and suffered through this cold with me.
Yeah.
But we got to we got to Nashville Saturday night. We didn't camp out, but we got. I told her, I convinced her to wake up like at 2:30 in the morning so we can get there around 4. We got there. We got to the hotel, the Sheraton in Nashville, which with the meet and greet. Now we always call it the auditions, but really it's a meet and greet. You go in, literally meet the casting director for like a minute, and just give her whatever you brought with you. Then moved on. So we got there flew out for 4 and set up our little camp at 4. Sat down 4:30. And I was so surprised. We were driving past it, and I didn't see anybody standing up or lining up or anything like that. And I was thinking, well, there might not be anybody here yet. This is kind of crazy because it's so cold. Then suddenly we start seeing these like sleeping bag bodies, wrapped up all along the sidewalk. And we thought they were homeless people at first. Then we saw a whole line of them. Like everybody's in cocoons. And then we saw tents. And like, oh my gosh, everybody's sleeping, camping out right now. This is insane. And then we go around the build. I pull in the back in some public parking spots, and the line stopped already. So I was like, wow, there's only like a couple hundred people here. This is pretty good. So I brought 2 lawn chairs. We layered up, and I brought a sleeping bag that we can kind of wrap around him. And we bought a bunch of hand and feet warmers. So we try to get as prepared as possible. Yeah. It was still pretty cold though. We sat there. We were talking.
How was the temperature? Like 30s, 20s. Wow. Yeah, that's cold.
It was pretty cold. The biggest thing, my toes were like the coldest thing, really. But,
yeah.
It was pitch black, but it was nice. We sat down. We talked to some of the people around us. The guy next to us, real nice guy, he said he got there like around 10 o'clock or something like that the day before, and saw that there were I think it was earlier than that. He got there, saw that there weren't many people there, but so he just stayed in his car. And basically, he camped out in his car and saw people lining up. He's like, I'll just go in the morning. I don't want to go out there right now. Yeah. So he woke up and basically got there a few minutes before us. And but I mean, it's fine. We got there. We were literally the first 200 people there probably. Mm-hmm. And sat there. We weren't outside for very long, actually. We were out there for about 2.5 hours. And around the 2-hour mark, we about had enough, and we made a Starbucks run down. We had our spots. We kind of communicated with everybody around. It's like, now we're gonna go get some coffee. Now I got some coffee to some of the other guys online.
Yeah,
I was like, I'll get you some coffee. Just save our spots, please. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So we got coffee. Came back, and not but 30 minutes when we came back, they let all of us, the big group of us, wait inside in this big banquet hall so we can get warm, which was super awesome. Yeah, it was very nice. And so we quickly, it happened so fast. Like, suddenly everybody's standing up, and we're like, all right, what's going on? Then we pack up, me and Sarah just pick up everything, soup it up in our arms, the chairs and sleeping bags without folding anything. And we're all rushing inside to see what's going on. And then we sit down in this banquet hall, and then we move into another section of the banquet hall where the table is, where the casting directors will be sitting. And she told us, the main lady, Mary Ellen Aviano, the main casting director there, told us, we're going to be there for a couple more hours, so kind of make yourselves comfortable. Take everything you can back to your cars. Your seats are safe. Just take everything back to your cars, because we don't want you coming up to the table with lugging a bunch of stuff. We want to make this as efficient as possible. So me and Sarah went back to the car, put everything back, and came, sat down, and just waited. We're just talking about what excited. Everything's very exciting. It's very cool. A lot of hopeful people there, and people auditioning, rehearsing the sides when it's not even an audition and all this kind of stuff. And there was one ridiculous guy that was the attention grabber. He was this big theatrical looking guy, always trying to get close to the casting director, always trying to be goofy, and always trying to just get her attention somehow. It was very annoying. And it was so annoying. And she actually called him out jokingly, it looks like someone's trying to get attention over here. It was, he didn't get called back. Yeah. But so we sat down, and suddenly they start by row and row. you stood up, got your headshot out, and walked up. Everybody had headshots pretty much, or resumes. And she said, explaining it, what's going to happen. You're going to walk through. You're going to meet us. Give us what you brought, and we may pull you to the side if we like what we see. If not, we're going to encourage you to submit a video online to opencastingcall2013.com. And she said, if you did not bring a headshot or resume, that's fine. Just step out of the line, and I'll go ahead and explain to you how to submit an online video, and then just send you on your way. So basically, yeah, they didn't require headshots, but they encouraged it. But if you didn't bring a headshot, like
no
we said,
chance,
you're automatically being told, just go.
Yeah.
And so I get in line. I'm walking.
I'm glad we took those headshots.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm very glad. Sarah didn't bring anything, so she had to talk to her about it. It was good.
Yeah.
So I was walking, and I had my headshot out and everything. And I was looking to see if anybody's being pulled or anything like that. And there were two lines. There's one going past a table with this other casting director lady. And there was a third guy there who was from Lucasfilm, actually. A Lucasfilm publicist, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
And there was the other line going directly to the casting director lady who was standing up. So I was like, I'm going to get in this line because she's the casting director. So I want her to see me. So I got there. I was behind some guys and some ladies. There was a kid and a few people in front of me. He looked younger. He was very clean shaven, young looking. I think a little taller. He got pulled to the side, and she asked all what happens. Everybody's handing her the resume. She looks at it. She flips over to the headshot, looks back and forth. She may say something about it, and she usually asks, "What's your age range?" And everybody's just replying what age they currently are. And she'd be like, "Okay, good." And the guy. So one guy got pulled to the side, and then like a few people more, and the guy directly in front of me, who's a little taller than me, he was like he was pulled to the side as well. She asked him, "What's your age range?" He said 23. She said, "Okay, very good." And she kind of looked at him and she said, "I want you to come over here and fill out this form, whatever. I'll be with you in a moment." And then I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I hope I get full. I was like, so I walked up there, handed her my thing. She barely even looked at me, really. She just immediately looked at the headshot, then flipped over to the resume. So, what's your age range? I said 22. She said, "Okay, good." And then she kind of looked up at me, then said, "I encourage you to go, now submit a video online." And I was like, "Okay, thanks." And I shook her hand at first. Immediately, I said, "Thank you." And I tried to get her attention as much as I could.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't as confident. I don't know what it was, or just I didn't have to look, or she was just rushing out. Maybe it was just because she pulled a guy directly in front of me. I don't know. But she didn't pull me to the side. But as I was like walking away, I said thank you, again. And she did this like double take up at me. I don't know if it's because she finally looked at me, or maybe she saw I was like just kind of like staring at her. I don't know. Trying to get her I don't know why she did like a double take. So that was it. So I just walked off. And she kept my resume, put it in the pile. And that was that. And then just left. But it was pretty cool. I mean, of course, I was bummed out because I didn't think a lot of people were complaining like, "Oh, she didn't even look at me. If she just looked at me, then I would have had a chance." But that's the way it is, so that's fine.
It is. Did she read the resume at all?
She just skimmed it.
Yeah,
she literally just looked over it. I think that's what it was too. I think she's looking for if it's full of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I noticed some people I overheard her saying like, "Oh, it looks like you acquired a lot of skills, or over the years, or whatever," or like, "It looks like you got a lot of work here." So I don't know if it was because of people who had a lot of stuff on the resume, in addition to their look,
right?
Or what? Or I mean, usually on average these places about 2,000-3,000 people show up, and they call back about 150 or so. I haven't heard yet on Nashville on what they have, but when I left, there were two guys. I think that was it really. I mean, I was the first like 200, and there were still thousands left to go. They went on until about 5 o'clock that day, and they actually let us in early. They started around 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
2 hours before
that was early.
They were scheduled. So they saw pretty much everybody.
They must have. They probably did callbacks that same day.
That day, and I think I heard Monday,
some days
Tuesday, Monday. Yeah, so a couple of days there, and so I guess I'll still do the online submission, which I feel like it's a waste of time, but
You never know.
Yeah. So we'll see. I tried. I guess.
Hey, until you went down there, you
Yeah.
never knew. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Yeah. It's
you
so
know,
cool.
that's one of the things where you're like, God, if you didn't go, how
would
long
never
you'd be
have.
thinking
Yeah.
of it, and
Never would have forgiven myself. If I
yeah,
didn't go.
yeah, but it's a shot.
Yeah.
It's a,
It was cool.
but again, they have your
Yeah.
headshot.
Yeah.
They have it. So
Maybe they'll call me
like
for
we
an
talked
extra.
about, yeah, like we talked about, it's never, it's never just this job.
Yeah.
It's always the next job. So
Yeah, because I was trying to think of the look that they're trying to find. Because the two guys who were pulled, to me, they seemed kind of different. I don't know if they were just taller or because one was very clean, young looking. The other was kind of rugged, manly looking. He was all bundled up in layers because it was cold, and he had a backpack on. So he was kind of a dirty blonde. The other guy had also dirty blonde, kind of darker hair. So I don't know if I don't know. Look, they're
were
going
they
for.
tall?
The guy in front of me was a little taller, maybe 6 foot, maybe a little 5'11", and the guy was probably a little shorter than that, maybe 5'10".
Huh.
So I don't know. He was much skinnier than me though. The one of the guys. So I really don't know.
Yeah. See,
What look they're going for?
who knows?
Yeah.
It's tough. Unless you know exactly, because obviously, those sides are probably bogus.
Yeah.
So
But she there's one part where she was talking to the whole crowd, and she mentioned like my boss J.J. Abrams, and then when she said that, my heart was like, oh
my
J.J.
God.
Abrams.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't nervous. I mean, of course, I was like, my adrenaline was kind of pumping. I wasn't like shaky or anything like that. I felt like I was pretty confident.
Did you get her name?
Mary Ellen Aviano is the casting director. I couldn't find out what agency. I don't think she's from Lucasfilm. I don't know, or Disney, specifically Disney, because she's worked with Abrams before. She's worked on Star Trek and I think Mission Impossible, some other films. So I guess maybe she's just an Abrams person. I don't know, but
She might be. Yeah. Well, she's probably independent. And
yeah.
does all that. Yeah.
But no, it's very
Crazy.
cool. Very crazy. I mean, Star Wars tried out to be in Star Wars.
Yeah. I was looking forward to managing your
Yeah.
Star Wars
Gosh.
time.
Man, I mean,
Really
wanted it, but oh well. So did everybody else.
Now they're still doing that, or they're done now?
I think they're done. I feel like I've heard that there was one more in the UK, like further in the month, like in maybe beginning of December. But the online submissions are due December 3rd.
Now what do you have to do? The sides?
The sides. You go in, you introduce yourself, and they actually said when you do your online submission, be sure to say, I attended the national meet and greet.
That's very good. So you should definitely do that.
Yeah.
Because
Okay, national meet and greet.
because that's the
Who's
thing
this
too,
guy?
that is exactly true. Because honestly, someone could see you do that and be like, "Wow, this guy's got some acting chops."
Yeah.
Pull his resume from Nashville,
Yeah.
and then bam, they're
Like-
calling me, and then I'm bringing in and negotiating your contract. So
That's what I was kind of hoping, like, they would have because I was thinking, did I put my number on my resume? And I was hoping they would have your number, and they called you up, and I was waiting on your phone call, be like, I just got a call from the casting.
yeah,
They want you-
Lucasfilm just called me.
They want you to come back.
You're in.
Get a back end deal.
Actually, I'd probably. How bad would it be? Yeah, they only offered you. They only offered you $100,000. I said no.
Well, think about it. And then you hung up.
I hung up. Yeah.
I'll call you, JJ.
So anyway, a good inside look at the casting. Did anybody come dressed up?
Not when I saw him, but I looked at pictures later. A guy dressed up as a scout trooper. I saw some people dressed up in. They had like those Chewbacca coats. Everybody was pretty professional. Seemed like everybody was trying to actually.
Well,
be
that's
actors.
the thing too. Is Nashville is actually a very professional,
Yeah.
creative town.
Yeah.
People go down there for acting. People go down there for music, music and all that stuff. So I would say that it was, of all the places, that was probably one of the ones that was very, very professional.
It was cool.
So
Very cool.
very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into some trivia. Well, one thing I wanted to mention too, that I noticed, I forgot to mention it last week, but if you go to the official Star Wars site, StarWars.com, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but before, when you clicked on the Explore tab at the top, you usually got, encyclopedia, the movies, the Clone Wars, video games, and under the movies, it used to be, it's got the Star Wars logo there. It used to have the Roman numerals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now those numerals are gone now, obviously. So when you click on the movies, it actually goes to, used to have the six movies there. Now they've added a episode 7 tab now.
Yeah.
And it used to say the movies, the entire Star Wars saga.
Mm-hmm.
And now it says the continuing Star Wars saga. So they have made their updates as Star Wars Episode 7 is getting in pre-production. And so I thought that was cool. So I think I'm going to actually put a link. I'm going to add a link from Inside the Force to this Star Wars Episode 7 stuff.
Okay.
So
Cool.
so you can get up on the latest from Star Wars. Now, obviously, they don't break everything as often as all these rumors and everything. So theirs is actually official stuff. So, but I'll probably put a link to Inside the Force for that. So, anyway, next up is trivia. Now we did 2.
Yeah.
Last
You got both
week.
right.
And we did get them both right. So we'll see if looks like 2340, which is not going to be
Episode 4.
episode 4, but we'll go ahead and actually let's try to get an episode 4 one.
Oh yeah,
I'm
we
gonna
did
skip
that
it.
last time.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip this one. Just random put in
Yeah.
numbers.
Oh,
Kind of wrong. The answer was B, by the way. Let's see if this next question is 1161. That might be actually. No, it's going to be Revenge of the Sith, but all right, let's do it.
Okay.
Here we go. 1161 from Obsessed with Star Wars. 1161. Here we go. How did Obi-Wan Kenobi jump into hyperspace when on board his Jedi Interceptor?
Okay.
A, he docked with a hyperdrive booster ring. B, his ship was equipped with hyperdrive. C, he remained on a Star Destroyer until it jumped out of hyperspace. Or D, he didn't need to jump into hyperspace.
What was the first two again?
A, he docked with a hyperdrive booster ring. And B, his ship was equipped with a hyperdrive. So how did Obi-Wan Kenobi jump into hyperspace when on board his Jedi Interceptor?
I'm going to go with A, the ring thing.
I am going to say A as well because that is the right
That
answer.
is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty easy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a decent question, though, if you don't pay
It was
attention.
a decent question.
Because they don't feature those rings much in the movies.
No, I think that was the only time I think you see one, right? In the
I feel like
movies?
episode 2, you saw one, I feel like. With
That was
Obi-Wan.
episode 2.
Oh, that was episode 1?
No, that was actually Revenge.
3. You,
No, it was
you see it in
Revenge of the
2
Sith,
and
but
3.
you see it in 3?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you see it in 3.
Oh.
Obi-Wan going to Utapau, or... I think when Obi-Wan goes to Utapau. Or
Yeah,
leaves
you're right, yeah.
Coruscant to go to Utapau.
Yeah, he
gets in his
leaves.
ring.
He's on the Star Destroyer and then gets all the Star Destroyer, gets on the
Yeah.
ring, I think, and goes. Yeah, you're right. So, yeah.
And you see it a lot in Clone Wars, too.
In Clone Wars, you do, yes. So, all right. So that puts me at 22-15. Casey is now at 20-17. So still 2 up on him. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Force. You can check us out at InsideTheForce.com. Check out all 36 episodes of this wonderful podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Inside the Force. You can go to our 21 Network Facebook page. 21 Network is the Facebook page. 21network.com. That's what we're a part of. Collection of podcasts for the fan and all of us. You can get great shows like KooCast, 21 Podcast, Popular Fanatics, Inside the Force, Hail Mary Podcast, In the Comics, and Star Wars TCG. Also, check out our fan films at 21, the 21 Productions YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/21pro, or you can go to each respective websites. That is theunknowndiscovery.com and riseofthetroopers.com. Go check out those. Casey here is at Kryptonian1138 on Twitter. I am D Cottingham21. check us out next month when we start episode 5. So do us a favor, actually. And actually, I really appreciate we're starting to get some really good emails from everybody, kind of acknowledging the show. And actually, it's funny because I'm finding out how much or how different everybody is getting the podcast. People are listening, obviously, directly from the website. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people that are using it on iTunes, but also, we are listed on. You can listen to us through Stitcher Radio and TuneIn Radio.
Yeah,
and we've been finding out some people from each now. So, and I'm finding out that TuneIn Radio. It sounds like they're not actually updating the feed as often as like
the same day.
Like iTunes does it every day. Mm-hmm. Doesn't seem like TuneIn Radio is, because we got an email from somebody saying they're not able to listen till Thursday. Mm-hmm. So just keep in mind, InsideTheForce.com, every Tuesday you can listen to the podcast right there off the website, or you can just manually refresh it in iTunes. If you can. Stitcher, I'm not exactly sure when they update theirs. It seems like it's pretty much the same day, but anyway, you can just or whatever RSS feed reader you're using, just refresh it every Tuesday. You'll get the new podcast. So, thanks for listening to us on all channels.
Yes.
So what I was about to say was email us or tweet us who you would like to have us profile in episode 5. We don't have the month laid out. We have some ideas on who we would like to talk about, but let us know your feedback on who we should talk about, and we'll throw that in the pot. Mm. For Casey Cooley,
you're all clear, kid. Now let's blow this thing and go home.
Nice, because
you're
auditioning for his son.
Yeah.
Right?
Now let's blow this thing to the Death Star. Yeah. And it's ending the show. Like, it ends the Death Star.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So blow this thing, Dave. Let's go home.
All right. I'm going to blow this thing. Thanks for listening, everybody. May the Force be with you.
This has been a production of the 21 Network. For more great podcasts, visit 21network.com. To view additional content, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/21network. Follow us on Twitter at 21network for the latest news and updates. The 21 Network, for the fan and all of us.